last night we already talked about the Hall of Fame class going into the Hall of Fame in 2026 being a little light as far as I'm concerned. We later on in the honors saw the MVP being announced, and it was Matthew Stafford as the most valuable player over Drake Maye. And then we found out just how close the vote was after this wonderful speech with Stafford surrounded by his 4 daughters. And we just showed you on the TV side of things, radio audience, the moment that Stafford got surprised with a video from his daughters throughout the season by the Rams about being the most valuable dad. As we found out as soon as it was all over, it was the closest vote since 2003, which, by the way, wound up with both
with co-MVPs
and Steve McNair and Peyton Manning. And what you see on the screen right here, I'll read it for everybody. Matthew Stafford, 24 first-place votes. Drake Maye, 23 first-place votes. Insane. And that was a screen grab taken and sent to me by my 14-year-old son, Cooper. And I'm sitting there in the auditorium looking down, the phone buzzes, and Cooper is a diehard Patriot fan who had been hectoring me for weeks about my vote, and I didn't tell him my vote. He just assumed my vote until I finally told him my vote before I got here. Now my vote is out. As the AP is letting everybody know who voted for whom, I believe. At least that's what I was told.
People are disclosing themselves.
I am happy to disclose I did vote for Matthew Stafford. So my son is a diehard Patriot fan and May fan, texts me not only that screen grab, but he also texts me, maybe if you changed your mind, ... I then responded to him, don't blame me, blame the 3 voters who didn't vote for either Stafford or May.
That's also nuts.
Interestingly enough, Chris, you told me this morning as we checked on the timestamp of texts.
Yeah, we were at dinner last night during honors, so we found out about the Hall of Fame and all the other award drops, and then I looked down at my phone and I get this from Cooper, my man.
He sent something to you too.
Yeah.
Blame it on your colleague.
Yeah, blame it on your colleague.
I mean, Cooper.
At 7:51, so that was 2 minutes.
I was right next to Cooper.
Who would that colleague be?
Well, probably the only
Chris?
one. I mean, you guys don't have votes.
No,
you don't
not
have a vote?
yet.
Mike,
Nope,
you don't
not
have a
yet.
vote?
Not yet.
I don't have a vote.
No.
So,
colleague.
At the end of the day, I thought Matthew Stafford had the best season of any quarterback in the National Football League. That is my view of value. I understand that people always seem to harp on the valuable part of most valuable player. If we took that player away from the team, would their team would the team have performed as well as they would have performed? And by that standard, yeah, Josh Allen got 2 first-place votes. You take Josh Allen away from the Buffalo Bills, would they have had an incredible season like they had? No.
Well, they had the leading rusher in the NFL this year.
Well, and then you could also sit here and make a case for anybody that's the value of Trevor Lawrence, the value of this, the value of that guy.
Caleb.
And what Sam Monson of Pro Football Focus put it out there that he was the one who voted for Justin Herbert, who was extremely valuable for the Los Angeles Chargers. Certainly the way that he performed without any protection up front, his value was apparent every single time he touched the football for that team. I get it.
He was not even a finalist.
But at the end of the day, he wasn't a finalist because not enough people gave him enough 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th place votes.
49 other voters were like, this guy doesn't deserve to be in the top 5.
Well,
let alone number 1.
I also took a responsibility of being a voter and saying it's clear that it's either Drake Maye or it's Matthew Stafford, and I put their stats next to each other, and I also had my eye test, and I also just decided Matthew Stafford, at the end of the day, had the best season of any quarterback in the NFL, and I voted for him. And I understand why Cooper would sit here and say that my vote is the difference. And I'm happy to basically also point out there are 3 others that, for whatever reason, decided to not put their vote into the hopper of what I thought everybody else who was voting for the Associated Press understood was the mandate of coming up with a choice between Drake Maye and Matthew Stafford. That should have been the MVP voters' first thought. That it's clearly a national debate that has been burning for a month and a half.
Yeah.
And it's time to actually declare. It's either rock or paper. I don't know.
Yeah, you
if
gotta
three
pick.
people went scissors. I had no idea.
The 2 Allen votes are really head scratching. I really don't get those, to be honest.
But in my mind, it was obvious. It's either Drake Maye or it is Matthew Stafford.
Yeah.
With all the due respect to every other quarterback who was worthy of just being mentioned in the group with those 2 guys this year. And you can have an argument who those other 3 finalists should have been. At the end of the day, the 5 finalists who made it were all in my 5. Drake Maye was second. I do not recall off the top of my head who was 3, 4, and 5, but I did put Allen and Trevor Lawrence. And I did put Allen, Trevor Lawrence, May, and Stafford, and who the 5th finalist was. I had that individual as well. All these.
I think it was Trevor Lawrence was the 5th.
Right, Trevor Lawrence, Josh Allen, Drake Maye, Matthew Stafford,
and Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, those were the 5 that I had on the list. So
that's a great list.
At the end of the day, I understand that you have your beliefs about May. I had my beliefs about Matthew Stafford, and I felt I owed it to cast a vote between the 2. And I was kind of surprised that anybody else thought
How do you
differently.
not vote?
Yeah, when we were quickly.
Well, they did vote. They just voted for somebody other than May and Stafford because they thought because I don't know. I don't want to speak for them.
I know.
I didn't want to just
I got you.
because the whole argument is about who's more valuable. How could I sit here and say Stafford is more valuable than Drake Maye? I mean, Drake May's value to his team is unparalleled. There's no question about it.
For that.
I thought Stafford had the best season of all the quarterbacks, including Drake Maye.
It's funny that it was the closest since 2003 because I actually felt more and more that I thought about it that we were going to get a tie. Like I thought it was going to be like the 2003 season where it was Peyton
I wouldn't have had a problem with it.
Steve McNair. Like these guys were both so phenomenal. I think for me, like obviously I'm a Patriots fan, but if you put Matthew Stafford on the Patriots and Drake Maye on the Rams, I think Drake Maye probably has one of the greatest quarterback seasons of all time with the weapons and the offensive line, whereas Matthew Stafford probably would have gotten hurt because that line is so bad and he's not as mobile as Drake is. That's just how I broke it.
But he's on the Rams, you know what I mean? And so at the end of the day, the whole argument of like remove him, would the Rams have been there with Jimmy Garoppolo? Of course not. Would the Patriots have been there with who's even the backup there, man? I guess I should know that prior to the week.
Josh Dobbs.
Yeah, I mean, that's right. The Pastronaut. Of course, they're not in the Super Bowl with the Pastronaut, and we love Josh Dobbs. Yeah. I mean, you could do that about every single quarterback in the NFL who has had a terrific season, and you could sit here and swap teams. And obviously Drake, and we keep talking about it over and over again. The minute Matthew Stafford decides to step away, and by the way, I thought that was another neat moment that he used his speech to announce, I'm coming back. I've got another season. And I'm sure the Rams would loved hearing that. I don't know if they were aware of it or not.
They seem
But I told you there are probably a bunch of quarterbacks in the NFL who are looking down the line of their careers when the contract allows them to potentially force their way out or potentially be a free agent, that deep down muttered, a curse word under their breath hearing Matthew Stafford basically say seats taken, like the bus in Forrest Gump. Seats taken, move on, and that seat will be a coveted seat in the National Football League. Certainly now that you see somebody is an MVP out of this system, which it is. And it again, Drake Maye, coached by Sean McVay, that would be great for him. But he did have Josh McDaniels in his ear, and he does have all of these weapons at his disposal that he is now finding, and he's been terrific. I just thought Stafford, at the end of the day, soup to nuts. Certainly, you want to sit here and talk about his age and the fact that I thought he wasn't going to play it down, and he did what he did for all, 18 weeks of the campaign. He deserved to be my most valuable player, and I didn't even think about voting for him or anybody other than him or Drake Maye. There wasn't even a consideration with, again, this is the king of all segments of us saying you should say with all due respect to start. Yeah, I don't mean to be disrespectful.
Did you vote for JSN for OPOY?
No, I voted for Puka Nacua, and I'll be honest about that. But the rest of I got them all right.
Yeah, I thought,
or my vote went to the
the winner.
eventual
Right,
winner.
right.
Christian McCaffrey for comeback player of the year. Both of the offensive and defensive rookies of the year.
Yep.
And
Myles Garrett, obviously.
I mean,
Yeah.
I was glad to hear that was unanimous, because the voting in this whole thing from the Hall of Fame to everything else is calling a lot of process and who's doing it into question. But I'm glad to hear that was unanimous.
Right.
You know.
Hey, you made it all the way to the end. Thanks for that. Check us out every single day streaming live on Disney Plus and the ESPN app 12 to 3 Eastern.